Welcome to 3 Count Commentaries. We're going to be talking about AEW Dynamite from January the 11th, 2023. But first, we got news and notes. So, Tully Blanchard is no longer involved with AEW or ROH, Ring of Honor. But I'm pretty sure you don't care about that because Tully Blanchard hasn't been on TV in forever. But you can, if you're keeping score, this is what Tully Blanchard had to say about whether he was asked for advice by anybody backstage. This is from Wrestling Observer Newsletter. He said he enjoyed his time in AEW, but when asked about whether anyone asked him for advice backstage, he said, not at all. He chalked that up to the current roster not being born when Blanchard and Arn Anderson were in their heyday. So you're hiring people for whom the wrestlers on your roster are not relevant. And you're saying, we're bringing you guys in, you Tully Blanchards and you Jake the Snake Roberts, because Jake Roberts is as old as Tully Blanchard, for the record. Okay? And Arn Anderson. And if MJF mentioned on this show that he was born in 1996, and he's 26, thereabouts now, almost 27. The same could be said for maybe Darby Allin. Same could be said for maybe Jungle Boy. So for these guys, they never saw Hulkamania. You know, Greg the Hammer Valentine is like, who is that? It's just a name that you've heard. Why are you hiring those people and they're not relevant to your roster? This is like the 5th or 6th person who has been over the age of 50 that they have brought onto the roster who have said, well, young guys don't really listen. William Regal, Billy Gunn, Tully Blanchard, Jake Snake Roberts, and I'm pretty sure there's another couple of them whose names slip my... Oh, Jim Ross. That's 5 right there. And then there's more who I can't even remember. What is the point of bringing these people in? And look, I get it that you might not want to watch stuff that's older than you, but I would guess that if you have a guy there who's been doing that longer than you've been alive, you might want to sit down and listen, ask the OG some questions, trying to see what's going on, what's the goings on, and how you could better yourself in the process. So it wasn't just Tully, though. Sting also offered a minor criticism to the AEW roster. He says, quote, this is from The Ringer, there's just too much going on. They're trying too hard with the gimmicks and the one-liners and the taglines, and they're jumping into it too early to let it all sort of evolve organically and see where that leads. As long as you're not dogging it in the ring, wrestling fans see that you're out there, balls to the walls. They're going to appreciate that. And over time, it will elevate you. So as a matter of fact, on that, losing a match, losing match after match after match, losing done right elevates, in my opinion. One thing I learned how to do is I learned how to lose. I learned how to lose in such a way that by the time the match was over, I was elevated. I always tried to put out so much effort during those matches that I did lose. Wrestling fans might think it was a horrible thing. So Sting is not just talking about looking good, okay? He's talking about the psychology of losing. Sting was a babyface for most of his time, right? Most of his time when he was really on the upswing. So as a babyface, he really did need to learn how to lose, because he had to learn how to lose in a way that kept the heels with heat, but didn't bury him. So you would go back and watch some of the matches he did with Ric Flair. That was not only an awful lot of cheating, but they will often cut off Sting's comeback with some kind of cheat maneuver. Flair will pull the tights, put his feet on the ropes or whatever, as a way of having the fans at their highest point, but never really yanking them all the way down until the very, very end. And then getting the people to believe that Sting would have had him. But that's not even the interesting part. The interesting part is he's talking about how hard these guys are going with their gimmicks and their one-liners or whatever. And you just know he probably had MJF in his mind when he made that statement. that guys are going so hard on these promos. They're trying so hard to be edgy, trying so hard to be cool, trying so hard to come up with a catchphrase, because that's the stuff they grew up with. You know, when you have like Max Caster, and again, all of these guys are around the same age bracket. They're all, early to mid 20s, maybe even late 20s. That means you were born in 96, you were watching wrestling in 2000, 2001, 2003, or whatever, with the exception of maybe the guys like Moxley, who are a little bit older, and Kingston and Danielson. Most of the younger guys were born in the 90s. They didn't really grow up with, and this was another topic of conversation on Twitter with Chris Bay, who says that he never watched a Bret Hart match because he was born in like 1996. Bret Hart is not relevant to him. That's his sort of opinion, I guess. But it says a lot that I messed it up. Wrestling is becoming a lot like rap music. Like what happened between rappers in the 90s and the rappers today is that the rappers in the 90s wanted to be like the guys that they listened to growing up. You could listen to a guy like Biggie and he will reference people that he listened to growing up. Jay-Z, Nas, they would reference the guys that they grew up with, the guys that mentored them, or guys that they were fans of growing up. They would reference them. You see that today with CM Punk and FTR. They would reference guys that they watched growing up. But then there is the, what we call the zebra mindset. That I'm going to do something completely different, even if it's completely detached from the tradition. But I also have no respect for the tradition. I also don't know who anybody is from the past. So like if you ask like modern rappers who some sort of mid-level rappers were from 10 or 15 years ago, they wouldn't have any idea. Meanwhile, you ask Eminem, he can spit out Tretch from Naughty by Nature bars, and you're like, who? It's one thing to be like, okay, you're Tupac, you're Biggie, you're Nas, you're Jay-Z, but he knows like verses from like Tretch from Naughty by Nature. Like that takes somebody who actually studied the craft, somebody who actually appreciates what they're doing. And this is a white dude who doesn't get all the credit that he deserves in terms of being a good rapper, and I still think Eminem is overrated, but that's neither here nor there. My point is that you have a lot of wrestlers today who apparently watched a lot of wrestling growing up and were super fans, but they did not study any of it. They have no point of reference for any of it. It is all just stunts and catchphrases. That's it. There's just no conception of the glue that holds these things together. Characters, storylines, promo ability, coming up with a catchphrase. Kai and Tai had a catchphrase. They couldn't cut fucking promos, okay? It's a different thing. And they got over. They were over when they were being embarrassed with the Indeed. And, they couldn't cut promos, but they had a catchphrase. They could do spots, It seems like the business is now populated with fucking Cayenne ties. And the problem is that they're at the top of the card, Now, some of these guys are legitimately better than most, and most of them get better with age because they're forced to. That's just kind of one of the things with wrestling, where at 25, you kind of suck. At 35, you're kind of really hitting your groove. That's because, the knee's starting to get to you, the back's starting to get to you, you're starting trying to figure out different ways of getting the same reaction. We get that. But I am just thoroughly floored by the amount of young wrestlers who have no frame of reference for the past and no reverence for the past, despite the fact that AEW was supposed to be that. It was supposed to be the company that was traditional pro wrestling and everybody's a super wrestling fan and knows all their stuff. But these guys don't know Tully Blanchard and don't talk to Tully Blanchard about advice. Well, if you're not going to talk to Tully Blanchard, why would you listen to Jerry Lynn? Now, I'm guessing Jerry Lynn's probably a little bit more relevant because if you were born in 96, he had those great matches with RVD in 98. You were probably still, you were a baby then, so you didn't watch him live, but they're still relevant because it's ECW, it's on the network, you can go watch it. He was also in TNA, you can watch that stuff too. He also wrestled in Ring of Honor, you can watch that too. I'm guessing he might be a little bit more relevant to them. But Tony is spending like real money on like older talent and bringing them in for the purpose of, making your roster look legitimate. Like I said before, they're bringing them in for clout. And it seems to have no real legitimate grounded purpose. They're not really coaches. They're not mentors. Why are they there? Like if Jim Ross isn't helping to recruit and train your roster, why is he there? If he's 70 some odd years old, he's got to get on an airplane to fly to Jacksonville or Los Angeles or whatever to do these shows. Why? Nobody listens to him. He's just going to suit up, sit in a chair and talk at the screen. Like, he's not there to mentor Excalibur or anything. Your other commentators that you might be looking at too for, Dark Elevation, Dark, Ring of Honor, or whatever. He's not there to mentor and make them better. He's not there to recruit and look at the talent and say, hey, we might be able to do something with this guy. We might be able to do something with this guy, which is what he did in WCW, WWE, and Mid-South. You mean to tell me you got this guy who's been around for over 40 years and you can't find something for him to do? But you insist on keep paying him and not firing him. At least Vince will fire you because he ain't got no use for you. Like, Gerald Briscoe was damn near 80. He was still doing, recruiting for WWE. For Christ's sake, what are they doing in AEW with these old guys? What is the point of these dudes? I went too long with that. Let's now get to the Young Bucks. They had an interview on Sports Illustrated. I'm not going to read the whole thing. I don't care. To be quite honest, I didn't even read the whole thing. But this is an interesting part right here. Okay. So it says, with all the different stories and rumors that manifested over the past few months, Nick and Matt Jackson discussed whether it was difficult to refrain from speaking their side of the story. Nick replies this: we've always had controversy surrounding us, so it's nothing new. But it does get frustrating when you publicly can't defend yourself with things you see online that just aren't true. I guess it just comes with the territory. All I care about is being a good person, and I know who I am. I know deep down inside the type of person I am, and if the internet wants to think differently because of all the narratives that tell you otherwise, then so be it. Wow. This sounds like a much nicer, less brash version of what Vince McMahon said on the Pat McAfee show. If you think I'm an asshole, well, I'm an asshole. Not going to concern himself with it. And I'm saying this is the right thing to do. Now, clearly, the Young Bucks were still getting, quote, their side of the story out. This idea that they were, tied up in the basement about Tony Khan and the gag order, I shouldn't have said tied up in the basement and gag order. That takes me straight to Pulp Fiction. The gag order that Tony Khan put on them really hurt them. It's like, no, they constantly have dudes whispering in the dirt sheets and dog whistling and all kinds of stuff. That's bullshit and they know it. But they continued. Well, the article continues. Two strengths for the Young Bucks are intelligence and experience. Matt Jackson leaned on both during his time away from AEW. So Matt Jackson said, quote, I remember the time when it would be so frustrating to me, wanting to clear the air and win over the people who criticized our work, or even worse, those who attacked us personally. I think I finally came to the conclusion after years of, quote, Young Bucks being a dirty word in this business and being dragged through the mud over false narratives, rumors, and speculation that we were simply cast at a certain role in this movie. These are our roles. There is no changing that, and it's a fool's errand to try to change it, because it'll drive you mad and destroy your mental health if you worry about it too much. Personally, you just have to keep on going and only concern yourself with the ones who truly matter in your life. I now only value the opinion of the people who know me best. Professionally, how do I fight off a career full of never-ending criticism with great content? Wow, great content. That's what they have to say. Great content. We want to create great content, not have great matches, not, make you believe in what we're doing. No, just great content. Well, you know what? This was whatever. Uh, saying that the Young Bucks name was a dirty word is excessive because it's not true. Like, the Young Bucks have been treated at like the toast of the wrestling business for 15 years or something like that. When was it a dirty word in the business? Just because somebody like Jim Cornette doesn't like you doesn't mean that your name was a quote unquote dirty word in the business. That's just bullshit. There's a lot of people who don't like the style that you do, but you're not the only ones who do it. Will Ospreay gets the same stuff. Ricochet gets the same stuff. Shane Strickland or Swerve Strickland, when he was doing the stuff with Ricochet and, the superhero bouncing off the rope stuff, he was getting it. Whenever dudes do that stuff, which is the style, not you personally, but the style, everybody who works that similar style gets almost the exact same reaction, which is you look like shit. It looks choreographed. You're clearly helping each other. Hell, when Luchasaurus and Jungle Boy was doing it, it was the same exact response. Now, there are people who don't like the Young Bucks personally, Jim Cornette being on that list, and they attack them personally, calling them names and stuff like that, which I like to do sometimes, but I try to avoid it. I like taking personal shots, though. Personal shots are fun. Everything I do over here is jokes anyway. It's not like, very, very rarely am I super, super serious about not liking a wrestler. Most of the time, if I don't like a wrestler, I won't even reference them or talk about them or care that they exist. The Young Bucks their fans are fun to poke at, but the Young Bucks matches are all the same. These guys have zero personality, have no presence, they have no promo. They just know how to do stunts. Double back to what I said about the Sting matches. These guys, they really don't know how to win. They really don't know how to lose. They just know how to do stunts. That's literally it. They do cool stunts. That's enough. It's an action movie with no story. Sometimes there's a story because sometimes they're forced to tell a story. But most of the time, there's no story in the match. It's just big set piece after big set piece. It's worse than a Marvel movie. The Marvel movie at least has range of emotions in it. There's no emotion at all in a Young Bucks match because you're not expected to emote or feel anything from a Young Bucks match. You're supposed to be, it's fireworks. It's like you go outside and you watch the fireworks on the 4th of July and you just see the pretty colors and it's like, ooh, ah, ooh, and then you go do something else. As opposed to watching a movie and watching characters develop and action and reaction and the chess of what a fight match can be, which is what people really enjoyed about wrestling. The Young Bucks just don't have it. They have the kids in the jungle gym playing around or in the ball pit sort of mentality, which is perfectly fine, but you can't get upset when people are calling you out on it because that's what you do. That's what you want to do. That's what you've been doing. That's what you make money doing. This is what you want to continue to do and you're not going to change. So what difference does it make what people think? So all in all, I think they came out right on this. Why do you care about what other people think? You shouldn't. You can't. Because you're not going to change. Only time you should care about what other people think is if it's going to force you to change. If you're not going to change, why do you care? Just keep doing you. People are always going to criticize you, so do you. I don't like the Young Bucks. But that's it for news and notes. Let's finally get into Dynamite. All right, Jon Moxley is defeated by Hangman Page. Hangman Page beat him with the buckshot lariat. There was some story in this match, with Moxley trying to re-injure Page, this time on purpose. He even landed the King Kong lariat, which is what knocked out Page the first time. He also landed a very vicious German suplex where Page pretty much landed on his head. It was pretty crazy. They of course did some no selling. Jon Moxley took a dead eye, which is one of Hangman's finishers, and he basically just got right back up. They had been fighting for a short time, with Moxley openly trying to wound and damage Hangman Page, only for the two of them to be open hand slapping each other, windmill slapping each other, like, I hate to say it, like little girls. In the later portion of the match. I don't know. Anyway, Hangman wins with the buckshot lariat. They do a concussion angle from Moxley at the end where he's blinking a lot and he's laying on the floor like, what's going on? Well, what's happening? It's like, yeah, sure, it's vacation time. That's what that's what it is. Time to go on your medical leave, sir. I don't know why they needed to do a concussion angle from Moxley. I get it, you're trying to write him off TV, but do you really need to do a concussion angle? I mean, is that what this feud's going to be about? I gave you a concussion, you gave me a concussion. We want to do a concussion on a pole match? Like, I don't get what the next level is to you broke my brain, so I bruised yours. So what's the next level? I don't know. CTE on a pole? I don't know. Like, what are we doing? Anyway. It seems ridiculous to me. Oh, jeez. There were guys on Twitter that brought up that Moxley being pinned clean here was only the third time in all of the 3 or 4 years he's been in AEW that he's been pinned clean. That only Lance Archer and CM Punk has ever pinned Jon Moxley clean, and now Hangman Page is on that list. That would be impressive if it was part of the story, but it's not. So it's kind of like the fans are coming up with their own little headcanon. Like, this is very important because of this reason. And it's like, well, it ain't really all that important if the maybe the announcers did mention it and I wasn't paying attention. I always will be able to throw in that because maybe somebody did mention that Moxley hasn't been pinned without cheating or whatever, and who knows how many days, but it hasn't seemed like it, And when he's beating up on Top Flight for pretty much every week, who cares really? But I guess it's a win for Moxley, a win for Page, and Page is a former world champion, so it makes sense for him to be able to beat Moxley clean. Okay, I don't have a problem with that. I just don't understand why we need to do a concussion angle because I don't understand where we're going to the next level on this. I don't know, man. Skull Crusher match or something, I guess. So Adam Cole returns. I'm going to truncate his promo. He said there's good news and the bad news. He said the good news is that he appreciates the business. He appreciates his life. He's wanted to do this since he was 9 years old, but since June, he's been going through a lot. He had a shredded shoulder. He had 2 head injuries, which caused him great anxiety and mental problems. When he was talking about getting up pacing and, unable to control himself, he probably needed some medication, to be quite honest. But, that's, serious mental health issues. He thanked everybody for being there for him. And then he said he had the bad news. Then he said the bad news is not for him, but it's for the AEW roster because he's back. And that his career was over, but now he realizes he ain't done yet. Because tonight, a new Adam Cole is born. And he's going to get to the top of the mountain in AEW. And I was like, okay, this is one of the shots in the arm that AEW truly, truly needed. They really did need Adam Cole to come back. And to be quite honest, he's been gone for so long, I actually forgot he worked here. Just like until last week when I mentioned Jeff Hardy, I forgot Jeff Hardy worked here. Sometimes guys are gone for so long, you forget they even exist. But Adam Cole is back. Hopefully, under that shirt, he has actually got in shape. Because if he comes back looking the same way as he left, that's going to be incredibly disappointing. Hopefully, he put in some effort on his body. And hopefully, the creative matches the goal that he gave himself here in AEW. The big problem with AEW is they wanted you to believe everybody's a top guy, but they refuse to have the top guys face each other. They refuse to have the top guys face any real legitimate challengers. It's only like occasionally you will get a Moxley versus Page or something like that. But for the most part, like I said before, it's Moxley beating up on Darius Martin. It's like, come on. Hangman Page in a situation with Lee Moriarty. It's like, come on, and then match to be 40 minutes or some shit. Like, it's ridiculous. So as long as you don't book Adam Cole to go 30 minutes with some loser from the factory or something like that, and run the risk of him getting hurt again, you got an opportunity here to really do something special with this guy, because now he's got sympathy on his side. He's fought and scratched and clawed to get his career back. Why waste it? Why waste it? Please do not waste this. Adam Cole is an incredible talent with the charisma, and he can work even though he's spot heavy and he likes to do things that are unrealistic. At least he has talent. He works as a top guy in this company. Adam Cole versus MJF could be money if you do it right. But you got to do it right. Don't waylay Adam Cole in a muck and mire of some other bullshit feud. We need to really get Adam Cole on the fast track to getting in a feud with MJF. Now, we know pretty sure Danielson's not going to win the title. So, do we wait until Cole is actually going to win the belt, or do we get in there as quickly as possible? But I think when a guy is as injury prone as Adam Cole, I hate to put it that way, but it is what it is. When, one more serious head injury is probably going to be it for him, you might want to put a rush job on it. You might not want to do something silly like make him the All-Atlantic champion. You might want to keep him away from those useless fucking belts. He shouldn't be the TNT champion. Let's put it like that. You should be trying to get him atop the ladder as quickly as possible within the next 6 months. That's quick. Not, within the next couple of weeks, but, run your feud, MJF and Danielson, run that. But you need to always have Adam Cole in MJF's rearview mirror. That's how it should be. All right, so the Acclaimed starts talking about Rampage. I hate all the Rampage ads here. I'm going to start skipping these joints in a minute. But they actually referenced the Vince McMahon thing, talking about they were unanimously voted to have a star on the Walk of Fame in Hollywood. It's like, who cares? They're not on this show. I don't get it why they're not on this show. They're always not on this show. Lee Moriarty and Big Bill are defeated by Hook and Jungle Boy. This match was all about one spot, which is Hook suplexing Big Bill. It got a great pop, which means it was a big moment. Of course, Hook and Big Bill win when Jungle Boy taps out Lee Moriarty. I don't know where we're going with this, nor do I care. This just seems like filler to me. This is filler material. More Rampage garbage featuring Orange Cassidy and Best Friends. I guess Best Friends are upset because Orange Cassidy defeated Trent. So now they're upset. They were hanging out with some guy who won a Golden Globe. It's like nobody gives a shit about Hollywood awards. Who the fuck is this guy? What show was he on? Maybe, I don't know pop culture. This guy could be the CEO of KFC or something like that, and I have no fucking idea. Who the fuck is this guy? Who is this guy? I have no idea who this guy is. Who is this fat fuck? Is this Larry the Cable Guy's younger brother? Larry the streaming guy? I have no idea who the fuck this guy is, or why he's important, or why he's eating up so much time on my television. Get this guy the fuck out of here. Moving on. Konosuke Takeshita, or Takeshita, is in the ring with MJF. MJF starts cutting promos about, facetiously saying that he's proud of Takeshita, but said he hasn't seen a lick of his work because he only watches himself when he watches this show back. He called him Takeshita and said, don't listen to these people, meaning the people of Los Angeles. Takeshita says that he wanted MJF to kiss his ass. The two of them got in a shoving match. MJF wanted Takeshita kicked out of the ring, or he was going to fine him. And even Excalibur started asking the question, like, where did he get the power to fine people? Which is what I was wondering. I was like, where did he get that authority? But the referee listened to MJF and got Takeshita out of the ring. Like, why are you listening? Why are you doing MJF's bidding? Anyway, MJF then goes on a long, rambling monologue for about, I don't know, it seems like 20 minutes. I'm pretty sure it wasn't 20 minutes, but it felt like 20 minutes. He dissed celebrities, quote unquote, that were in the crowd. That Asian dude who's only known for the gay meme and being in the Hangover, and Freddie Prinze Jr. Like, god damn, these are the quality of the celebrities in AEW. God, it's just low quality stuff. Like, man, I remember when wrestling used to have real celebrities. You know, I'm talking about people that you actually talk about on TV, like a Elon Musk or something like that should have been on AEW or something. I know he wasn't going to be there. Elon Musk is too much of a robot to go to a wrestling show and actually enjoy himself. He'd probably be like Data from Star Trek, trying to mathematically figure out how many people are in the building, how much money in their pockets or some shit. So he goes on and on about how he has the stamina. He's a real Iron Man. He's going to fuck your girlfriend, fuck your wife. The people suck. They're fat and poor. And, you know, he's about pinning shoulders to mats and banging rats. And he's just going on and on. Eventually, Bryan Danielson ran to the ring and MJF ran off, which it felt like it just took him way too long to get there. You know, like, I like MJF, but this is the second week in a row where they basically put him in the Miz position where he really doesn't have anything to say, but we're going to put him in front of the people anyway, you know, because at least MJF is a proven draw. So they're going to keep him on screen as long as possible. So you're basically perpetually a donkey chasing a carrot watching an MJF scene. Because he's just trotting along, chasing that carrot or whatever. What is he going to say next? And then by the end of it, you realize he ain't said much at all. He really ain't said shit. And really, you could have cut 90% of this out and it wouldn't have mattered at all. He could have got into an argument with Takeshita because, you know, whatever. He's a heel, Takeshita's a babyface. He wants Takeshita to hurt Bryan Danielson. That's a good reason for MJF to be out there. But once he kicked Takeshita out or whatever, and, you know, he's going to talk about how he's got the stamina to be an Iron Man, but it ain't going to be an Iron Man match anyway, which seems fine to me. Okay, that's a good reason to be out there. But him talking about the celebrities, him talking about banging rats, him, you know, just going on and on and on, eating up so much time just felt excessive. It just felt like it went on forever. And at least have a point to your rambling promo. This is almost Bray Wyatt-ish, except for, you know, the Bray Wyatt stuff is a little bit more cryptic because it's more poetic. But this was just as rambly. You know, he's just going on and on talking about Freddie Prinze Jr. I'm like, I don't give a fuck about Freddie Prinze Jr. Do something. Somebody do something. You know, why is he yelling at this Asian guy? Like, come on, this sucks. And then I had to sit here and watch Bryan Danielson wrestle Konosuke Takeshita. Takeshita, who the crowd seemingly really likes. I mean, it's AEW's fan base. Literally, you can come out, you know, in curlers with the Jiffy Pop bag on your head, wearing pajamas and Crocs, and you'll get a standing ovation. They'll throw your babies in the air just because you're in AEW now, so it don't matter what you're doing. So him being over doesn't matter that much to me. It's like, what are you over for? Having good matches? You're barely on TV. You don't cut promos. You don't speak English. Not really. So why is this guy over? Well, he's over because the internet keeps pushing and pushing and pushing and pushing. And it's like, well, this is where you learn that Twitter isn't real life. When you start seeing that this guy is getting people standing up in their chairs in the building, they're so happy to see this guy. But then everybody else at home is like, what the fuck? Who is this dude? Why should I care? And they are perpetually in perpetuity like, who is this guy? Why should I care? And then you put him in the ring with Bryan Danielson, and do they have a good match? It's like, okay, they had a good match. Was that the goal here? Well, the goal was to have a good match. Okay, are you ever going to work on getting Takeshita over? You know, like, are you ever going to work and giving him a character, giving him a motivation, a reason to be? No? Okay, whatever. Danielson wins with the Regal stretch. Throwaway match. Again, I said last week it was going to be a good match, but I'll never see it again. And I didn't really feel like to see it this time. Next week, they're going to do it again. This time, Danielson's going to fight yet another babyface because he's going to fight Bandito. Apparently, Tony Khan's been lurking on Twitter. Probably got all kind of burner accounts. And he's noticed that a lot of people, a lot of people have been asking the question, where is Bandito? And he probably was like, I do have a Bandito on the roster. Let me take my Rolodex. Oh, I do. Beat for Bandito. There he goes. And You know, why is Danielson fighting other baby faces for the right to fight a heel? Is MJF picking these opponents? Because if he is, where does MJF get the authority to pick opponents for people? This seems like a lot of stuff that kind of goes unnoticed. Like, how can MJF find people? I don't know. There's so much stuff that just kind of goes over people's heads. I don't know, man. I like MJF, but I didn't like this promo. It went on for too long. I want to like Takeshita, but they're not giving me any reason to like Takeshita. He's just a plain Japanese dude coming to the ring. And I love Bryan Danielson. He's fantastic. But it's pretty clear that he's being used as a famous mechanic. He's going to go out there, have good matches, and that's pretty much it. Unfortunate. But at least we could see Bandito next week. Unlike Andrade. I did not forget. We'll talk about Andrade later. So Andrade wasn't on this show, but guess who was? That worthless sack of salt, Juice Robinson, who says, he's not here to be complacent. He's here to kick ass and win championships. And he wants to fight Darby Allin for the TNT title. So for the first time ever, I'm looking at the Bulletproof Midget and I'm saying, do your worst. I want you to bounce off that rope as hard as you can. I want you to nail that son of a bitch, Juice Robinson, right in his chest and collapse his rib cage. Fuck Juice Robinson. All right? I want Juice Robinson out of here. I don't care where you put him. Just get him out of here. But then again, I'm not watching Rampage anyway, so really I don't care. I hope they have a fantastic, fabulous 5-star match that lasts for 40 minutes, and everybody who watches Rampage can, act like, like the guy from Clockwork Orange. You're strapped to the chair thinking you're going to get quality wrestling. Instead, you get 40 minutes of fucking Juice Robinson, because that's what you deserve for watching Rampage. Get out of here. All right. So Saraya and Toni Storm versus Britt Baker and Jamie Hayter. There was no Mercedes. No Mercedes. Not going to attack AEW for not delivering something they did not promise. They teased it, did not promise it. Therefore, I can't attack them for it. You can't blame the company because you headcanoned something that you thought was going to occur. And we all did. Well, I did anyway. Me and several other people, we thought Mercedes would show up here in some fashion. Most of us thought that Toni Storm would get taken out and then she would be replaced. They decided not to do that. In fact, they decided to not even tease her at all. She wasn't sitting in the crowd at all. They didn't do anything. So I can't really blame them, but people were disappointed, especially online. And it is what it is. Just have to take your L. Maybe we should stop expecting stuff. Stop expecting shit like this. Maybe just enjoy what they're putting on screen. Did I enjoy this? No. I don't even think I watched this. I forgot Paige was even still wrestling, to be quite honest. It has been so long since her last match. I forgot this match was even going to occur. It became clear to me Mercedes wasn't coming before the bell rang. So, because I figured either they're going to do something before the match or going to do something afterwards. So during the match, I guess I had other things to do. Sorry. I did see when Sheeta came to ringside, I figured this was time for her heel turn. But the match went on for seemingly an ungodly amount of time. Maybe it wasn't that long, but to me, it felt like it went on forever. Oh, Toni Storm is the most beautiful girl who is not over I have ever seen. I have never seen a girl who has blessed with more physical good looks than Toni Storm that the crowd absolutely does not care about. And that is shameful. I mean, this is a girl who could net anybody's attention in public, and yet somehow she's on national television and nobody cares. That is an achievement. That's an achievement. To take somebody who is as hot as Toni Storm and make them completely unappealing to anyone. And WWE is trying to do this with Nikita Lyons. They're trying very hard, to make her as unappealing as anything. She's stupid. She's a goof. She does nothing but TikTok dance and take pictures. That's their way of doing it. Toni Storm just a mechanic. She has no personality. She has no voice. You just look at her and that's it. She doesn't play to the crowd. She doesn't even look at the crowd. She doesn't acknowledge the crowd. She didn't learn in NXT to acknowledge the crowd. God, what the fuck? Ooh. This was an indie match. I mean, everybody's just looking at each other. And it's like, ugh, this sucks. Britt Baker and Jamie Hayter win. Sheeta tossed the kendo stick to Britt Baker. Of course, she played innocent as if, oh, I didn't know what I do. What did I do? I do nothing wrong. I'm good girl. And Britt Baker hit Toni Storm in the back with it, which led to Jamie Hayter hitting her finish. Okay. Britt Baker had to get her win back over Saraya, even though she didn't pin Saraya. She pinned Toni Storm. Didn't do Toni Storm any favors to get beaten this match, but whatever. Saraya lost her second match in the company. And then they didn't do anything special. This match was all about the Sheeta heel turn, which I guess is fine. That's a fine story to go with, is the Sheeta heel turn. So now Toni Storm has to bitch. She's going to bitch to Sheeta. Sheeta's going to play coy like she didn't do anything wrong when she knows she did. And, Saraya's going to be trapped in the middle. All right, cool. But what happened to Saraya? Supposedly she had 2 tickets that she supposed to gave away. What happened to that? I guess it didn't have to be for that Dynamite. Moving on. There was more Rampage shit, this time featuring Eddie Kingston and Ortiz. And I'm like, where the hell is either one of these guys been? I don't know when the last time I saw the face of Eddie Kingston. I don't know when the last... Again, forgot he worked there. Ortiz, same damn thing. Forgot he was even working there. Where are these guys? What are they doing? They were arguing about something like, you know me. You know who I am. You know what I do. And Ortiz was like, I do know who you are. I do know what you do. Then why are you questioning me? Don't question me. You don't question. You don't question Eddie Kingston. You don't do that. And I'm like, what are they arguing about? What are they bickering about? What is going on? I guess I have to watch Rampage to find out. Well, fuck it. I don't want to know. I don't want to know that badly. Get out of here. All right, moving on. Jericho Appreciation Society came to stink the joint up. They talked for way too long. They talked about being at the Battle of Los Angeles, the PWG show, which, not gonna lie, I thought it was pretty cool. I didn't think that Dynamite was going to be in Los Angeles, so it really kind of took the shine off of them going there, because PWG, I don't think they stream their shows. I think they still sell DVDs. I'm not really sure how they work, how they operate, or why anybody cares about PWG, to be quite honest. That just seemed like one of those meme federations, because Dave Meltzer can go there, and he often does, and is often seen in the front row. And, people get to take pictures with him, so it's a big deal because Dave is in the house. He's there personally. Otherwise, you look at that and you're saying to yourself, if you don't watch this, if you didn't know it existed, what are you missing? The answer is nothing. So PWG can not exist and nobody would care. But I thought it was still a cool moment because Jericho has been so against doing indie dates. I remember he ripped on Impact, saying he'll never do a show on Impact or whatever. And he popped up at PWG, so I thought that was pretty cool. Unfortunately, it was just basically a promotion for Dynamite, because Dynamite was going to be in Los Angeles a couple of days later. So, okay, that's fine. It's still fine. Speedball Mike Bailey won like that great indie tournament. And I'm just like, could you pick a more boring motherfucker to win anything? Speedball Mike Bailey. This Doogie Howser looking motherfucker. Come on, man. Indie wrestling is such a fucking joke. It's hilarious. It's a joke, bro. They find people with the least amount of charisma, whose offense looks in no way real. I'm telling you, I'm pretty sure Mike Bailey's karate background is legit. He probably did study karate, but he kicks and throws punches like I could break his fucking jaw. I'm like, you could not bruise a grape with some of those shitty kicks that Speedball Mike Bailey throws. I just look at him like, come on. When you see Danielson throw a kick, or Samoa Joe throw a kick, like especially in the Ring of Honor days, those kicks look like they fucking hurt. Like fucking low key throwing kicks. Those kicks did hurt because most of the time he kicked you for real. But Speedball Mike Bailey's supposed to be some kind of karate guy. And he throws the lightest fucking kicks I've ever seen outside of fucking Torrie Wilson. He's the shits. Him and his fake ass gelatin teeth. He's the shits. He fucking sucks. I don't know how I got on the subject of... Oh, I was talking about PWG. And I was talking about Jericho. Anyway. The Jericho Appreciation Society, they came out there, they ran their mouth something about Fat 2.0's nipples getting hard. That disgusted me. They said the Ricky Starks experiment is over. This led Ricky Starks and Action Andretti to come out there. Action Andretti has a microphone. I was on pins and needles about how this was going to work out. Ricky Starks said they couldn't get the job done last week. You know, he got powerbombed through a table, but that wasn't enough because, you know, Ricky Starks is all 5'8". Probably, well, 170, 180. Somewhere in the neighborhood of 200, but not over 200 pounds. You would think a powerbomb off the ring apron through a table should probably put him down for a little while, but nope, he's back already. Anyway, then Action Andretti started to talk. Jericho called him Oliver Twist, which it was funny. I laughed at the Oliver Twist joke. Please, can I have some more? Please, can I have some more? I would have used it at a different time, but I like it. It's not bad. Then Action Andretti goes off on Sammy Guevara, saying that Sammy Guevara can't control his wife because his wife's hands was between his legs. Guevara snatched off his shiny jacket, and I like the shiny jackets on the JAS, by the way. They look like the Temptations, and I like that. It's good entertainment stuff. They look like lounge singers. That's great. It was a great touch. So he snatches off his jacket. Daniel Garcia talked, and I was like, you know what? We off the rails. There's too many players. There's too many people talking to each other. Let's get to the point, right? So the point is that Ricky Starks is angry at Jake Hager for powerbombing him through the table. Okay, that makes sense. But at the end of it, after he challenged Jake Hager to the match, Hager's like, I like this hat. You know, I like this hat. And everybody's like, yay, Hager likes a hat, guys. I'm like, what? They agreed to have a match. And then at the end of it, I was like, we did all of this so that Ricky Starks can have a match with Jake Hager. We did all this talking. We sat through all this jabberjawing so that Ricky Starks could have a match with Jake Hager. Bro. Felonious assault. Okay? Felonious assault. This is a waste of time. This was something that you should have replaced one of those goofy ass "we'll see you on Rampage" promos with. Could have just put Starks and Andretti backstage where Starks could have cut the same joke, did it quicker, challenged Hager to a match, and then Excalibur, that's Jake Hager. Tony Khan already break the match. Ricky Starks versus Jake Hager on Rampage, or whatever, and just moved on. You know, but instead we had to go, 10 minutes of these guys going back and forth. I had to listen to Garcia. God. Really, man. What did I do to deserve that shit? I ain't do nothing wrong. You know? It's been my year so far. The only problem has been the wrestling shit. Usually, that's the part I have fun with. You know? But I'm not having fun with this wrestling shit. And the hometown guys won the main event. The Elite defeat Death Triangle. They did everything that they do. They dived off of everything and broke tables. They got power drived on to ladders. These guys were skinny. They was bouncing off them joints literally and getting up not too long afterwards. Kenny Omega ended up retrieving the belts, and therefore the Elite are now the Trios champions. I'm just glad this whole thing with Death Triangle is over. I'm telling you, I did not pay attention to 6 of these matches. After the pay-per-view, I stopped paying attention to these matches. You know, I hate to break it to you guys. I do reviews, and I think I do them pretty well. But I can't pretend to be interested in something I'm not interested in. I don't give a fuck about the Death Triangle versus the Elite. These guys have wrestled 7 times. I'm not going to see anything different in this match that I've seen in the other matches. The only thing is they did the Canadian Destroyers with ladders. That's the difference. They did the jumps off the top rope with tables. That's the only difference. Every fucking match has been the same. They literally do the same shit in every match. I can't pretend to care. Not to mention, you already knew the Young Bucks were going to win, for starters, because they started that miraculous comeback. The second thing is because they're in fucking Los Angeles, which is their hometown. Nobody loses in their hometown in AEW. It's the opposite of WWE. So I didn't feel the need to watch this match as thoroughly or as closely as everybody else. I peeked at it. There. Enough's enough. This show, bubble fucked. I was actually Page, Moxley, best thing on the show. Even the promo segments I didn't really care for. We didn't get to hear from Danielson. Unfortunate. Please do something else. This ain't working out for me.